What's up, YouTube? Mass Mechanicz here. Today is the day we're going to finally unveil our LSX project car. And we're going to take a quick look. I'll give you a walk around, tell you what's going on with it. So check it out and stay tuned. Well, we're coming to you again from the quarantine garage. Here's our project car that we've been talking about for a while. We've been building that LSX motor up, the 6-liter, and now I'm going to show you the car. This is what it's going to go in. This real nice 1974 Chevy Corvette. It's a nice car. It looks great. It just has quite a few little issues with it, and we'll straighten them out. Before this car came to us, it had been sitting for years. It looks good. The guy who owned it for all these years, back in like around the millennium time, got a reshoot on it. If you look at the sticker here, the thing had not been registered before we got it. This is 1978. It's been sitting for quite a while. As you can imagine, the interior was a full gut job. I was able to save as many of the original parts as possible, like the dashboard, even the seat covers and things like that are the original leather. It's pretty cool to be able to save some of that stuff. All the trim around the roof and all that is original. But it does have the fiberglass nose piece and tail piece, because they were that rubbery stuff that always fell apart. So when he had the respray done, he had those replaced with the fiberglass ones. So that was good. They look pretty good. I mean, the paint is probably a 7 out of 10. But it's a great driver. I mean, we did a lot to this car. I went through everything in the engine bay to get it to run good and at least be safe for what it was. Wheels, tires, brakes, brake lines, fuel tank, fuel pump. I mean, you name it, it had to go through it. But that's what part of it. Ever since I was a little kid, I always loved this body style, the C3s. This is something that we always liked. It's just flashy looking, you know. It looks like a great sports car, but with this L48 195 horse engine, it just wasn't doing it. These are the ram horn exhaust manifolds, they call it. They leak pretty bad. They tick. It sounds kind of like a little lawnmower under the hood. That's aggravating. It has a little flapper valve, which restricts it even more. Those are broken off, so they're probably stuck somewhere. Deeper in the engine bay here, you can't see it obviously, but the rear main seal's leaking real bad. The oil pan's leaking really badly also. The front seal is leaking on the crank too. Not only the exhaust is messed up. It runs okay, the best I could get it for what it is. But there's even oil coming out of one of the spark plugs, so that means the rings are probably stuck. It's just not worth dealing with. I'd much rather have something better. Now, I could just pull it out, rebuild it, and have a mediocre engine. And even if I slap some heads on it and up the compression, it would perform okay. But it's just not going to give me that modern car feel and keep this beautiful thing on the road and nice. So to do it right, the way I want to do it, the value is not there to really keep it original anyways. So let's have some fun with it. So if we're going to have fun with it, let's finish up this 6-liter build. Right now I'm getting ready to put the rear main seal cover and the back of the engine sealing plate on. Covers up the cam, as you can see. I got to clean it up really good. I use some brake clean on a rag. You got to be really careful with these rags because they leave behind like little fuzzy pieces, and you got to make sure you don't get that. On all the sharp edges and stuff, they seem to get caught on it. I like to use cloth ones, but I had a ton of these, so I just got to be careful and make sure I don't leave anything behind. So that way the oil doesn't decide to find its way out and have a nice leak again, just like the one we're taking out. Because that would not be good. Because the only way to fix this type of thing is to either pull the engine or pull the transmission out to get back there. And that's not something I want to do after we get it all together, right? Now when you're doing these type of covers, it's definitely a good idea to put a little bit of sealer in the corners. That way where the gaskets meet each other, you don't develop a leak there either. I think it's even suggested in the manuals. I'm not sure. I haven't read one of those in so long, I couldn't tell you. But that's just the right way to go, I think. Now, after cleaning up that cover really good with some brake clean in the rag also, let's start putting it on with the new gasket. Those gaskets are a little spring-loaded, kind of, like the way they're made. So you got to kind of line up one bolt and then push it over and then get the other one in. Otherwise, it'll be hard to line up the bolt holes. It's a little bit of a pain, but not bad. Because a lot of gaskets like this are that way. Well, now we're just going to run in a few bolts, like I was saying, to keep the gasket into place, so that way the holes all line up fine. And then we're going to take some bolts for the bottom that go through the pan, and that's going to keep the cover in place in the right position also. So that way you can get everything started. So now it's time to put a little bit of thread locker on these bolts. I'm going to start by putting them in all the bolt holes that I didn't do yet, and then I'll take the other ones out and I'll replace those after I put the little thread locker on them all. Because you want to get these with thread locker, otherwise these could rattle loose or come loose. And then you got that leak again where you got to take the whole car apart. So yeah, we'll get another of the bottom bolts in through the pan to get that cover on nice. That way everything lines up good when we're starting to really get it all put in together. Well, now that we got all the thread locker on all the bolts, let's start running them all in. That way we can get them ready to be torqued once we get it lined up with the alignment tool we got to use. When you're using this is the alignment tool. You need to put a little bit of oil on the O-ring inside and outside. And it seems like the thing needs to go down a little. So to do that, all we have to do is tighten the pan bolts a little bit. And that'll bring the cover down. Get it lined up. There it is. Now we can run these down a little bit and we torque it to 106 inch-pounds. Again, like everything else, you want to probably always do a crisscross type of pattern. Sorry about the wobbling. It just makes it part of the fun of the job. Wouldn't be enjoyable if it was, you know, not ready to drop on top of you. Makes it more fun that way. Come on. There you go. Oh. We're getting wild on us. Go over them all. guy, wiggle it out, and there it is. Now you got to wipe this out really good to get rid of the oil from your install tool, and then you can put your new seal in and use the tool actually to tap it in. And you slide your seal on. And that's it, rear main seal installed. Alright, now the rear main seal is done, the cover's on and tight and torqued, so now it's time to start getting this thing set up to adapt to that Turbo 400 that comes in the vehicle we're going to put this in, that Corvette. So this is your flex plate, and this is an adapter that goes in the snout of the crank, and I'll show it to you here. You just take and slide this on over the end of the crank. It gives you a nice spacing, that way the torque converter will line up with the flex plate. A lot of the stock 6 liters, at least from the era that this truck came from, 04, have these on them factory anyways. I don't know if GM used a bunch of old transmissions or what they did, but this is the thing. So I used the GM part. I showed you the part number there, and then you just line that up, get it on there nice and true. Alright, well here's your flex plate right here. It is directional. You can see how there's indentations for where the torque converter bolts go through. Here's your nice converter. I'm using a TCI. I think it's a 2800 stall for the cam. But you got to do some test fitting here. This is important. That's where your bolts go through for your converter. You only have 3, and I think there's 6 on the flex plate for different applications. So what you're going to do is you're going to want to line up your torque converter with that. So I'll show it to you right here. You take this machined shaft and slide it inside of that collar that we just put on, and that'll make sure that it doesn't vibrate when it's going down the road. Otherwise your converter can wiggle. So you want to test fit it really good right here. I couldn't do it with the camera because it's hard to do everything with holding the camera and do all this. So just showing you, these are the bolts we're going to run. They do have some thread locker on them already. They give it to you in that kit with the spacer from GM. It's pretty simple stuff. You always thread lock all this stuff to make sure nothing falls off, because it's the last thing you need to have come loose is any of that stuff, because it can be pretty catastrophic. Here's your part number on your flex plate. I don't know if it's still available. I did buy it quite a long time ago. It's a GM part, so it possibly is available. Hopefully for anybody who wants to do this kind of swap. Everything went together great, so I would definitely suggest it if I was doing this again. And then over here is the other part number for that spacer again. I'll show it to you just in case somebody wanted to do it. It does have the bolts and everything included. It even has the thread locker already on the bolts, so you're ready to go. Just torque them down nice and you're in business. I really was happy with this. It went together really nice. Alright, well everything's torqued down, set up, and ready to go. Even got the starter on. So alright guys, well that's it for this video. I'll have another one coming out real soon of taking the old engine out, getting the new one in, and how everything lines up and works. So stay safe, stay healthy. Check us out on Instagram. We're Mass Mechanicz. Like and subscribe. Thank you.